before 8 o'clock on the early edition on CBC Radio One. Well, Granville Island may soon be managed by Port Metro Vancouver. Talks are underway for the federal agency to take it over from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. But today, the city of Vancouver is exploring options to buy the land. And we stopped by Granville Island to hear what businesses there think about a possible takeover by Port Metro.
Well, I think the general concern is always that, those decisions come from Ottawa. They don't actually come from anybody that's directly involved with Granville Island. So it's always a bit frustrating because we're all small businesses and, we know how things run down here and we've kept our businesses going and we're self-sustaining and, it's always great to be able to have some input too, which we don't really have. So it's frustrating.
I don't know this, but so far CMHC is very successful here. As you know, this is one of the landmarks. I don't know why. If an organization is successful, why we change this?
Yeah, we're just skeptical, what's going to happen. There's not much information that we can get from them, so far. So, but so long they keep it just as it is, they improve everything, we welcome the change.
I sure hope they keep it pretty much the same as it is. I've been here for 20 years. There's lots, even as a native, I haven't explored. So you can imagine people who only come once, how much more there is for them to come back to. So I hope they keep it very much the way it is.
There you go, what some people think about changes on Granville Island. We're joined now by Laura Carey. She's the co-chair of the Granville Island Vision Committee and a spokesperson of the Granville Island Business and Community Association, and she's with us in studio. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Those business owners sound fairly wary of change. How does the Business Community Association feel about new management coming to Granville Island potentially?
Well, I think there are as many points of view as there are people on the island, but as I represent the Business and Community Association, our official stance is that we're more interested in talking about the opportunity for new governance. So we're really curious to talk within our community about what sorts of ways Granville Island should be governed, rather than directly addressing who may or may not be a good choice.
Tell me about what difference it might make, though, if Port Metro Vancouver takes over governing Granville Island rather than CMHC. We're talking about two federal bodies here.
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't really know enough about Port Metro to make an informed opinion about how they may or may not affect us. So that's why we're really looking into governance. And some of the principles that we believe are really important includes things that some of the business owners had addressed there, like local decision making. We think this is an opportunity to refresh our governance model and really return to the principles of Granville Island, as well as integrate some of the updated paradigms about public spaces.
What have been some of the challenges of working with CMHC?
I think that it's really touched on by the fact that a lot of the decisions are made back in Ottawa, and because this is such a mixed-use public space, it's so unique and so challenging to understand from a distance because it's really unlike anything else. I think that would be sort of the major sticking point with CMHC is despite the fact that the people on the ground have been very supportive of many of the businesses there, they have a positive relationship with the community. I think that might be the source of any frustration, is just that there is a distance between the local people on Granville Island and the decision makers back in Ottawa.
So is there a feeling at all that Port Metro Vancouver might have a better understanding of what the Granville Island is about?
That's yet to be shown. We don't actually want to be critical of either CMHC or Port Metro or even the city for that matter. Again, I want to refocus on it's about governance. It's about how Granville Island should be managed. So we would be open to any governing body that would be able to step up and govern in a way that's really appropriate for the island. I think CMHC and the Granville Island community have in common the goal is what's the best possible future for Granville Island.
Now, what about the idea of the city of Vancouver taking it over? We hear the mayor bringing a motion to council saying that he'd like staff to look into the feasibility of the city taking it over. What difference would that make?
Well, again, we'd just like to hear more about the city's plan because from our understanding, the sale of Granville Island is not a straightforward process.
But are we talking about the sale here or are we talking about managing the island?
Well, when we're talking about the port and CMHC, we're talking about property management. But my understanding of the city's agenda would actually be purchasing, which is not necessarily on the table through the two Crown corporations because it is federally owned land right now. And to transfer management from CMHC to the Port Authority would not require the sale of the island. So that's why we would be curious to find out more about the city's plans.
Granville Island is this, since it opened back in the 70s, I mean, it's been this wildly, or was conceived in the 70s, it's been this wildly successful experiment in kind of anything goes. There's not really any zoning there. There are no sidewalks. There are some people think that's a good thing and other people think it's a bad thing. Whoever ends up managing the island, can you assure the people who love the place that it's not going to change?
Well, that is what everyone has in mind. The community association, we're really concerned that the public is aware that this place is yours. It belongs to all Canadians because it's federal public land. So this is your place. This is your space. And we invite the public to come and take a look at our community website, Granville Island Works, and you can find some really relevant historical information as well as kind of our current sources of inspiration, which are things such as the Project for Public Spaces, the Vancouver Public Space Network. And these are where you can get some of the interesting paradigms about how to move forward with a positive public space. We really care about this place, the Business Association, but we also want to remind the public that this is yours. So whatever it is that the public wants to see there, and let's not forget about the Emily Carr space.
Right. 200,000
juicy square feet of prime Granville Island space. That is historic. That has not been available since the beginning of the island, renewed in the 70s. So that's really where we want to focus on how to enact some new models of governance. What do we want to do with that space? So we invite the public to get informed and get involved, join the conversation using the hashtag #WeAreGranvilleIsland, and come and visit us on our website, Granville Island Works, just to get involved, get information about how we might proceed into the future to ensure that this precious public space stays as weird and wonderful as it is, and go back to that vision from the 70s to renew it into the next 30 years.
Laura Carey, great to talk with you this morning. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys.
Laura Carey, the co-chair of the Granville Island Vision Committee, and we requested an interview with both Port Metro Vancouver and CMHC. They declined our request. Love to hear from you on this, though. What do you think about the potential change in owners? Call our talkback line, 604-662-6690, 604-662-6690. You can email us, earlyed@cbc.ca, and do follow us on Twitter as well, @CBC Early Edition.